Welcome to Tom Papa's Come to Papa.
Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of Come to Papa, your favorite podcast among all the other podcasts. We're so glad you're with us today, here at the end of October. Just a mere week from Halloween itself. Dun, 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 dun. I'm here with Paul at the Come to Papa Studios. How are you doing, Paul?
Good. I feel like you're pushing us further and further past October every single time.
Well, maybe because every time you come, it's further and further into October.
I never even got to enjoy the middle of October.
What were you doing?
I don't know. I was hoping like this week be the week that we all talk about Halloween costumes and all that kind of stuff.
We just started.
Yeah, you're like fast forwarding through that.
I said we're a week from Halloween.
You said the end of October.
Yeah, man.
What?
You know what the date is?
Well, I guess it's weird.
October 22nd.
Oh, yeah. That's true. I felt like it was October 15th still.
I feel like you're on drugs.
Well, I mean, they are still playing baseball, so that's a little weird.
Yeah. But I think we're moving right on time. Here we are, moving towards the end of October. Halloween is a week away. I don't know how much more accurate we could be.
I guess there's like a week there that I didn't enjoy the pre-activities.
Listen, just because your weird last couple of weeks, who knows what you were doing there at the apartment, getting all kind of strange and playing your FIFA on your new phone. That doesn't mean the rest of us haven't been present.
Okay, what have you been doing?
I have been right in the moment. I've been in tune. I've been contemplating my Halloween stuff. I've been baking bread. We had amazing shows this week. We're in the middle of the tour. Go to tompapa.com and make sure you check out tour dates because we're coming near you. I don't even know where you are. And I know for a fact we are going to be very near you because we're everywhere. Yeah. Livermore, Dallas, Spokane, Washington, all just this week.
Yeah,
Kansas City, Austin, San Antonio the following week.
Yes.
Cleveland the week after that. New York City. I don't know what more you want.
Yeah, it's amazing, man.
You keep waiting for us to come to you. Well, we're doing it. So you better show up.
And don't say, hey, when are you coming to St. Louis Obispo? We're just there.
We were just there. Beautiful theater, 800 people, gorgeous, fun time, kick-ass shows. Then we cruised down to Thousand Oaks, California. We had a great show there at that beautiful theater. So listen, we're doing our part. We were in Fort Lauderdale the night before.
Right.
That was a crazy day. We woke up in Fort Lauderdale. We took a flight. We landed in L.A., got in a car, 3 hours up to our good friends at San Luis Obispo. And we walked in there fresh as a daisy.
Yeah, that was an old school, no hotel room, just jump out of the car.
Straight onto the stage. Man, we would have been a little fresher. We would have stopped in for a quick shower or something beforehand, but we had a horrible driver from the airport. Nothing could go wrong on this day. We needed the flight to go smoothly. We needed to get home to get our car. We needed to get up there with 3.5 hours of Friday traffic. But it would all work out. It'd all be perfect. It'd all be fine. We'd have a little breathing room as long as everything went smoothly. And we got to the airport, And I'm not even going to mention the car company that picks us up all the time because they are flawless. They never let me down. They're always on top of it. But this day, of all days, the one day, we need nothing to go wrong. We end up with a driver who literally should be put in prison. Not because I'm saying he committed a crime, but he just does not know how to function in the world, and the only safe place for him and the rest of us would be to be in jail in a tiny little cell and just staying out of the way of everybody else. That way, if he annoys someone at the cafeteria, someone who created a shiv out of a spoon can just end it, and we'll all be done with this buffoon. A horror show. An extra hour to an hour and a half.
Yeah, that was crazy.
First, he's not in the terminal. We're calling him. He's not picking up the phone. We call the company. They're trying to find him. They can't find him. Should we Uber? What are we doing? Paul's chatting it up with his comedian friend in this conversation. I'm frantically going off on the phone, trying to track down this buffoon. Then he gets on the phone and says, I'm in the other terminal. All right. And then he asks me, should I just come and get you? I'm not that far. All right, well, where's the car? Maybe you should just get the car. Well, that's the thing. My car is in Terminal 7. So I'd have to get you and then and then we have to walk over. And it's not that far, but it's through the other parking because the other parking was, just get the car. Sitting there waiting. Then he gets in the car, and he is driving with his cell phone in his hand the entire time, looking at maps to figure out how to get out of LAX. My daughter's been driving for a week and a half. She would be able to find her way to LAX and back, no problem. This guy didn't know where he was going. I'm on like a business call through traffic. I'm annoyed. And he just doesn't even know what exit to get off. What I'm muting so the person on the other end of the line doesn't realize I'm dealing with this. Please just take this next exit. Unmute, back to my conversation. 2 seconds later, I'm sorry, so you want me to take this next exit? Just, oh my God, take the next exit. And he takes the exit. We get within 50 feet of the house, I would say.
Yeah.
We're now a good hour and a half behind in our schedule. We're not going to be able to do it. We're going to have to just run out of this car into my car and just go. Mm-hmm. Don't say hello to the dog. Wave to your wife. Just try and make this show in San Luis Obispo. We took care of everything. We did everything we were supposed to do. And now another human being is messing us up. And it wasn't, like we said, if it was a natural disaster, if it was something out of everyone's control, you just kind of roll with it. But when you know it's just an incompetent jelly brain of a person ruining everything and making the mistakes, that's what kills you. We're 50 feet from the house. There's a T intersection. Just go straight. He starts turning right. Straight. I'm still on the business call. Straight, muting. Just go straight. I never yell at people. Straight. Oh, he goes straight. And I say, then you go and it bends to the left. We're the first house on the left. He starts going directly into someone else's driveway that is not even close to left. It's a little to the right and straight. And he just in the garage, in the driveway. By the time we got him to park, it felt like the last 50 feet took about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
No traffic, no nothing, just him being a buffoon. We just whipped our bags out, ran into the car, and went. And it took us probably an hour just to shake off what that man did to us.
Right, after being on the plane for 5 hours.
No sweat, no problem. We got up early, did the shows the night before. We're doing everything we're supposed to do. We're on top of it. We're responsible. Everything was flawless. And then you run into just a guy. You wouldn't want this guy taking your order at the coffee shop because he'll ruin your whole day. It's that kind of guy.
And it wasn't 20 minutes. It wasn't 30 minutes. It wasn't 40 minutes. We were at the airport for almost an hour. Waiting for this guy to figure out where he was.
Hasn't happened to me in 20 years.
Yeah.
Of running around this country trying to entertain our fellow citizens. An hour? Are you kidding me? When I had no money, and look, my philosophy has always been, from the time I started, any extra money I have will go towards travel. That is an expense that'll have to be accounted for. I'm not going to go out and try and find taxi cabs. I'm not going to go. This is business. I've got to take care of this. I'll pay for it. And you start out in New York City as a young whippersnapper, having no money, just going with the cheapest car service they could have. In New York, it's like 6666666 or 18 or 1777, like Carmel or whatever those awful ones were. And even the only one close to this was when I was waiting to be picked up in New York. It was one of my first gigs on the road, and a guy pulled up. He's late, and I'm calling, and the company. This was a bad company. I didn't expect anything at the time. And a guy pulled up in a giant 1970s station wagon with paneling on the side, blue muffler, comes up late, and I'm like, that can't be it. And it was one of those Sikh drivers. You know, the Sikh, they have the long beard and the turban. And he's just sitting behind the thing. And I was like, this can't be my car service. And it was my car service. Since that ride, there has not been anything as disastrous as what this guy did to us on Friday.
Yeah, and there might be people that say, hey, why don't you just take Uber, Tom? Well, this is the exact reason that you get a car service. So when you get to the airport, you can leave right away. They know where they're going. They're a professional. You want a professional driver. Yeah.
Do your job. And we couldn't even, then you're just stuck with them. It's like when you're on a call
for
an hour and you're trapped and you can't get out. And if you do get out, you got to go all the way back to the beginning and you're in too deep.
Right.
We were in too deep. So I have not written my complaint, but I'm really storing it up.
Yeah.
I'm going to I have to help the citizens of Los Angeles, the tourists that come in with their families and on their one vacation, the businessman and woman who come in and have to get some big deal done. Maybe they're going to make the next Godfather 2. I don't know what they're going to do, but they're all here. They all need a car service. And if this guy right now is out there ruining someone's day.
Yeah.
And it's up to us to stop him.
I don't know if he'd make it. It was almost as if it was one of those things where he's the twin brother of the driver that works there, and he's just filling in for him for the day. Or
my God.
He couldn't have actually worked there. I think he might have hijacked the car and then just tried to take over the assignments or something.
I wouldn't be surprised. How do you not know how to get out of an airport if you're a driver?
And also, 4 to 7 is like the entire the entire LAX. It's like walking the entire terminal.
Yeah.
So,
oh my God. But we survived, and we got in the car and we cruised all the way up to San Luis Obispo, and also that wasn't the only thing. We also had to take care of rehearsal for Live From Here, which is the great show that we do each week, and I had work to do on that before we got to the show. We got it all done. Live From Here was an amazing show. We had great shows. The weekend was a treat. And next week, this Thursday, we start up again. We go up to Livermore, California, and then we go to Spokane, Washington, and then buzz down to Dallas, where I have not been.
Yeah, I've never been to Dallas.
In years. We have a big Texas run coming up.
Yeah.
We've got Dallas, San Antonio, and Austin. Those are all going to be sweet. We've got to we have to be smart about our Austin, San Antonio part of our trip, because we need to have some good meals while we're there.
A cowboy hat?
I have to say, too, another thing we have to work on it with our tour, I don't love eating a big meal after the show.
Mm-hmm.
The show's over. I know we're very hungry then. But by the time we eat, it's 10:30. And, like, we, coming back on after that night, we stopped at Denny's. And you're eating just Denny's food at 10:30 at night. I think I'm still recovering.
Yeah.
And we weren't even that decadent.
It was well, here's the thing, is when you let not healthy Tom, but when you let Tom out of the bag a little bit, he goes a little crazy. So
he does.
If you get him into Denny's, he'll order something healthy, but then he puts hot sauce on the fries and mustard and anything else that's on the table.
You think that's what did it? I don't think it was the good people at Golden's Mustard. I think it was the weird whatever turkey and bacon and bologna they put on that club sandwich.
You think?
Who knows what they did to the bread? Yeah, I just haven't felt right since.
Wow, because that's the safest thing to order is like a sandwich they don't have to cook.
I know. You know what else? You know what's even safer? Not going at 10 o'clock at night.
I gave you your choice. You could have had IHOP or Denny's. You got to be of the people, Tom. You can't think you're too good for...
I'm not too good, but if it's 7 o'clock, that's fine. 10 o'clock and you're going to bed and you still have French fries in the top of your throat.
Yeah.
I don't love that schedule.
Well, here's the thing.
A little snack, fine.
Well, all these days this week are going to be early mornings. So we're going to have a good... like noon to 2 o'clock meal.
That's right. That's when we should do it.
And then we can have like a lighter thing afterwards.
Protein bar, snacks backstage, done.
Yeah.
Done. It's the worst time to eat. You get big and fat. You feel like crap. It makes waking up the next morning disgusting. We got it. Yeah, the big meal. We just have to, and it's weird because it's a psychological thing. You think, well, you're in a town, we're going to have a great dinner. Mm-hmm. That's going to be the great meal. That's when you go and you celebrate. Not for us, not carny folk. Our big meal is if you want to go to Austin and you want to have some great barbecue, it's going to happen between 1 and 3.
Yes.
And then you recover and you go to your show and you do it. And that was your experience for us. Traveling.
And that's because normally it's similar to like playing in a basketball game or a football game. You can't eat right before you go on stage. That's what people always think. Like, hey, want to grab dinner an hour before your show? No. We can't do that.
I'm expending energy. It's not even the eating. It's just the sitting there and talking and all that stuff. It's,
Yeah.
It's an energy dump that should be going towards the show.
Yeah, it was funny. I was just I posted something today. I don't know if this ever happened to you when you played football, Tom.
Yes.
I went to basketball camp and they played these tapes, which they had everyone lie on the gym floor and close their eyes, and they played this tape, and it was basically like an affirmation / meditation tape. And
nice.
It was just like this guy with a really weird Long Island accent saying, "You are the best player. You will make every shot. You are the fastest." And it was like 20 minutes long. I don't even know what kind of company made it, but I brought it back to all my 9th grade buddies, and we did it as a goof one day. We all laid down in the locker room and played this tape, and we won. So it became part of our ritual. And I was like, wow, I bet you that actually helped us.
Yeah.
That was, mentally prepared. Kids, I don't know how many years ago that was, but we had to be way ahead of the curve meditation-wise as far as being in ninth.
People are just starting to get into that.
How many kids in 9th grade cannot have headphones on for 20 minutes and just lay down and meditate or listen
what's your
to
point?
Well, I think that's what you need before the show, because that was one of your things was to are you still meditating, or is that something that you're still doing?
I haven't missed a day of meditation
Oh, I thought you were going to say you hadn't done it.
in 3 years.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Not one day. That's what I did right before you got here. What did it say on the door, on the handle? Did you see that little thing?
Oh, no.
That little thing, that little sign on the door says, I put it on there like a do not disturb.
Tom's inside his head now.
I'll show you.
Because that's what you used to do for the meditating. You have an actual door slip that says meditating on
It's
it.
like a do not disturb. It says meditating on one side. That's where everyone knows to stay away. It says TM on the bottom. And then you flip it over when you're done, and they're allowed to come in.
Refreshed.
It says refreshed. Yeah, man. No, I'm telling you, that push that we had, we flew from New York down to Florida, did a show, saw some friends the night before, another big mistake, eating and drinking at 12 o'clock at night. Great people. We had to do it. It was super fun. But a mistake, if you're an athlete, if you're Tom Brady, you're skipping that meal.
Right.
Get up at 7 o'clock the next morning and take that flight and the whole San Luis Obispo thing. I'm not going to rehash it, but that's a huge day. That is a 20-hour day culminating with us standing on stage in front of 800 people, making them laugh. I meditated 2 times during that day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so much more valuable than if I were to try and get on the plane and try to sleep for like 2 hours. If you can just drop, and then you feel like if you're totally refreshed, you don't need another one. But if you're lagging a couple hours later, just do it again. And then, boom, we have no problem when we were up on stage.
Right.
So similar to your 9th grade inspiration. No, if I can drop...
Okay, I stand corrected.
Even if it's 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Sitting in the green room, sometimes while you're on stage, I'll just drop for 10 minutes.
Okay.
And that helps, especially when we have a 2-show night.
Yeah, because I thought you hadn't been able to do it just because, it not only was Tom wasn't complaining to be a guy complaining about a driver. You had a rehearsal that was going to start. It was supposed to start when that guy finally got there.
Yeah.
And then luckily that got pushed until we actually got in the car.
Yeah.
And then you still had to change so you could listen to that.
No, I'm changing sketches, writing stuff, listening to rehearsal, I'm working. Everybody, you're working. We all have work. It doesn't matter what you do. I don't want to sound like a prima donna here. Everybody has work. Everybody has a long day. Every single human being has a long day, even if you're just sitting around. And the one thing that none of us have is a superpower to continue going without rebooting your nervous system. You're being stimulated with all this stuff. And, sometimes you're just like staring at your computer and you're like, I don't know how I'm going to make it. You can't go just check out. You've got to keep going. You can't just take a 5-hour energy drink. That's all meditation is. It's just giving your nervous system, which has been under attack since you woke up. You're thinking, you're constantly moving, you're sensitive to everything that's going on around you, you're dealing with life. This just takes the computer that is you and turns it off and reboots it, and it's primed and ready to go, and the nervous system is rebooted. It's like you just showed up for work in the morning. And everybody needs it. This isn't a special thing. Every human being should do it. Legit.
So you're saying you're a Scientologist?
They take it to a whole nother level.
I'm
they
just
make
kidding.
you into a giant movie star.
I like your computer thing, though. That makes sense. I mean, I do. The only time I do it was when I get on planes and when everyone's boarding for 10 minutes and smashing you in the head with a suitcase. You need something to
go
be
into
like
your zone. And I did it for years. Not with the dedication that I have in the last 3 years, but I did it for years, and I just learned from a book, and I just read about counting your breaths and things like that, and it was pretty good. But when I actually finally went to a transcendental meditation teacher, a TM teacher, that really dialed it in. It actually made it more simple than what I was doing.
Oh, okay.
It made it easier to do, and it made it twice as effective. Excuse me. I recommend it to anybody. Find out. Just look it up online and find somewhere in your life where you can do it. You don't need quiet. You can do it in a car. You can do it, not when you're driving, but you can do it in a car. You can do it on an airplane. You can do it in the lobby of a hotel. Once you learn how to do it, a friend of mine described it as it's like adding 4 to 5 hours of it's like adding 4 or 5 hours, good hours to your day.
Yeah.
Because you run out of gas, and it's like, 2 o'clock, and you're like, oh, geez, can I get through? And then at 4 or 5, you just check out, and that's it. I'm done. You can do all of this stuff. You can do more. You can be alert. You're not going to be stressed either. The stress.
Yeah.
The stress.
Well, everyone that does it, like, religiously is always has a lot of energy.
Yeah.
So.
And it puts things in perspective. It kind of just takes the sting out of life.
Mm-hmm.
Even like this. Like, this is a thing, right? We have to come and do this podcast today. You wake up in the morning. What do I have to do today? All right, I know I got to go do this podcast at 2:30. That's a thing. And you got to go do it. You got to deal with it. You have a responsibility. It's going to be, you got to plan it. You got to figure out what you're going to do. You got to go. And if you're stressed, if you're in a stressful mood,
mm-hmm.
and you're fried, and your nervous system you had shitty night's sleep, you didn't eat great, you're stressed. Coming to do something as fun as this is difficult in those circumstances.
Yeah.
But if you woke up after a horrible night's sleep and you meditated for 20 minutes before your day started, I guarantee you when the time comes around to do the podcast, you're not sweating it. You're not stressed about it. You're just going off and doing it.
Right.
That is a huge, huge thing. Because stress, people go through their lives without ever dealing with it, and you end up chewing the inside of your mouth. You end up hunched over.
Yeah.
You end up with migraines, headaches, all these manifestations of stress. We're
right.
under stress all the time. And this is a thing that just diffuses it.
Yeah, you had your make-believe back thing before you started doing it all the time, right?
Yes.
And have you had any problems with that since?
No.
Since
that was a slightly different thing.
The cupping incident?
Yeah.
No, that was about 2 or 3 years ago, I think.
Yeah, for sure. No, my stress level no, you're right. That was also a thing of dealing with pain and realizing there wasn't an injury.
Right.
That it was coming from stress and coming from just being kind of like aware of it. That was a Dr. Sarno kind of thing.
Yeah, that was like everyone says, well, not everyone, but like people always tell me they have like back problems.
Mm-hmm.
There are always people that are super stressed. Like anybody that's trying to deal with it is like, it's almost always, people are going to think that we're making this up, but there's a whole book based on it. Like people
Dr.
hold
Sarno.
this stress in whatever, and it kind of manifests in
stress,
back problems,
anger, grief, all of it. And your brain knows that it has to take care of that, and it can't. But what it can deal with is a pain, a knot in your neck that your brain starts focusing on, and then you actually physically constrict your back or your neck, and then that actually stops feeding oxygen to it, and you actually end up with this pain.
Right.
When you realize, no, it's just my brain. I am angry. You don't even have to cure it. You just have to be aware that I'm angry. I've got stuff built up. I don't know where it is, what it came from, but that's what that pain is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And just keep reminding yourself of that. It will relax, and you'll.
And you could just look at yourself, even the way somebody drives when their like arms are all tensed up and their like neck. It's like, dude, you got to relax. And they're like, what?
Yeah. No, it's very little subtle thing. You don't realize how sensitive we are. You're sensitive. We're these, amazing beings, and you're out in the world just being bombarded all the time, and every level, in every generation. You're just dealing with life, and the nervous system is a huge thing that deals with all of this, and to be able to actually take care of that very important system is invaluable. You can eat better, you can do things physically, you can do all this other stuff, but your nervous system, how do I help that thing? That very important tool that is working all the time. This is how you do it.
Well, so does that help you sleep, or does that help you get up in the morning, meditating?
It doesn't help me sleep.
But you do sleep well.
No.
Oh, I thought you did.
I sleep pretty well, but I sleep with another person.
Yeah.
I sleep next to another human being. And the problem with sleeping next to another human being is you both have a 50-50 chance of having a good night's sleep. So
right.
Those odds are pretty high, probably. Like when I'm alone, if I'm in a hotel for a week, I'll sleep pretty well most of the time. But some nights, you eat something weird, whatever, you are stressed, whatever, you don't sleep well. When I'm home, if I'm on a track for sleeping well that night, she might not be.
Right.
Right? We're not in sync.
Yeah. She
might have a rough night and be up and down, and guess who's going to be up and down as well? You are.
Right.
So here's a weird statement. I don't rely on a great night's sleep to be alert. If I know that it's been a rough night, and even if I was drinking or whatever, even just water, and got up to pee 3 times, through the night,
right,
and I just had a bad night's sleep, I know if I can meditate before the day gets going, I'm awake, water on my face. If I can get 20 minutes, it'll make up for that lack of 8 hours of solid sleep.
Right.
That's a big thing.
Well, most married people, there's always one person that can completely just zonk out no matter what, and then the other person is like the one that's always awake.
Yeah, sometimes. But life hits you, and, everyone goes through different things emotionally. Then you also have your physical things. Then you get a little older, and what you drink and eat has a big effect. Sleep, I don't rely on it. Physically, there are things that why sleep is very important. But if I know I have a big meeting at 2:00 that day and I didn't have a good night's sleep for whatever reason, I know that as long as I can meditate, I'll be in good shape by 2:00. Where before you're just down in coffee and trying to jack yourself up and eating dark chocolate and whatever you can to keep yourself up and going. I'm telling you, it is. It's not a hokey, hippy-dippy thing. It is a real practical practice that I think everybody should do. And
that's the only reason that you didn't kill the driver, I think.
100%. 100%. If it was 8 years earlier, I'm strangling that guy with his necktie.
Yeah.
And screaming at him, and I would have been through the roof.
Yeah.
And I was pissed.
Yeah, I've only seen you maybe once when they were running you through like 19-hour days on Boom. Was probably the only other time that you could see Tom's getting a little ticked off.
Yeah. And you just get short. Everybody does. But I mean, I'm telling you, if you can do the TM thing, it just puts without even having to think about it, it just balances everything else out. So I definitely recommend it. The other thing I recommend is baking bread.
That's
your waking meditation
of the earth.
That's when it starts getting hippy dippy.
Well, the other thing that was interesting with the drive was because Tom had to do rehearsal, I was put upon to drive the Tesla.
Yeah, I had to have the laptop out and on a phone call, so Paul, for the first time, took the wheel.
I could tell Tom this was like handing over a baby to a stranger. He
You have confidence, but you're very nervous.
And he was very, I've told a couple of people this, and they still don't believe me about the automatic pilot. People just don't believe it works. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of crazy.
I have a friend that has a Tesla that has never used it. I'm like, why would you? He's like, you use the autopilot? I'm like, yes, all the time. The car drives more than I drive.
Yeah. Especially like everyone knows the stop and go traffic that you're in. If you put the autopilot on, it basically follows the car ahead of you. Yeah. So if there's a big gap, it speeds up fast and then it'll slow down before it hits the car, obviously. But every instinct that you have is telling you to hit the brake. Yeah. And not just watch this computer do it. And it's a really freaky thing. Yeah.
Did you get used to it?
Not really. Like, you didn't even get used to it. You got worried once because it does.
When you were driving?
Yeah, it does.
Because I didn't know. The only reason I didn't know is because I didn't know if you had it on autopilot.
Right.
It was wiggy. It wasn't. Sometimes it's like a computer. It's and this is not to replace your driving. Your hands are on the wheel. You're alert. Any guy that's messed up with the autopilot was expecting it to do too much. Mm-hmm. It's a computer. It's an iPhone. Some days your beautiful phone just acts up and it doesn't do things, right? You hit the button and it's not responding. Yeah. The Tesla on that trip was not all dialed in. It was accelerating.
Right.
You're always safe, but the thing I think you're not safe with is the people behind you. Right. Because the car, all of a sudden, it's got 5 car lengths in front of it. And it's the autopilot set at 65, and it sees it's got room, so it accelerates at a pretty quick rate, and then sees there's a car in front of it and jams on the brakes, which it was doing. So the guy behind you is like, whenever you're behind some guy who's suddenly braking, it was doing a lot of sudden braking that day.
Yeah, and while you weren't happy with the Tesla was definitely not happy with you, Tom. It took away some of your privileges.
I did get in trouble that day.
Tell them what happened. So what happens? So I didn't understand what happened.
This is a new feature that they have, where I was working at the same time that I'm in traffic. It's going slow, but still I have hands off the wheel and I'm on my phone, and the car's doing its thing. And I didn't notice the car was telling me. It reminds you, hey, put your hands on the wheel. Put your hands on the wheel. Put your hands on the wheel. Mm-hmm. And I didn't put my hands on the wheel. And then it goes, bim, 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 bim. And it disables your autopilot for the rest of the trip. It takes it away from you. It's like you're not being responsible enough. You're texting or falling asleep, whatever it is. You're supposed to have your hand on the wheel, and you didn't. And we reminded you. And we told you 3 times. And we counted to 3. And I'm sorry, now you're grounded. It's a pretty good feature.
Yeah.
But not for me. I was paying attention. I was just busy.
Well, that was the longest day. When I think about all the things that happened that day. So we had that drive. We charged the car.
What was so great about it, though, was that we had that. I think one of the best shows of the tour.
Yeah, that was great. Cal Poly.
I'll tell you what I was thinking of. There was this great book. There's this great book called Comedians by Arthur Grace. Mm-hmm. My grandmother gave me this book before I was a comedian.
Oh, wow.
And it's a big, photo book with interviews of George Burns, Sam Kinison, Richard Pryor, Joan Rivers, Lily Tomlin, Billy Crystal, Steve Martin, Jackie Mason, all these great comedians. And it's beautiful. It has these great black and white shots. And then it also has a little story and a little interview with the guy. And let me see, on the cover is Robin Williams holding a baby, which is a hilarious shot. Let's see, Jackie Mason. Where's Robin? Oh, here's Robin Williams. I haven't looked this up in a while. But whenever I whenever we have those crazy days where we're pushing and you have to go up on stage, I'm always reminded of this. I'll see if I can find it quickly, if it's not too much there. Ba-bum, 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 ba-bum. You're right, listen. The shots are so cool. They're really so good. I'm trying to find that there was a thing of him being like exhausted. Maybe it's not in here. Let me see. Robin, Billy, ideas both good and bad were flying around the room. This is a writing thing. Then he went to Elvis impersonation, swinging his hips, cocking his head. The next night, we went out to the Mets game for comic relief at Chase Stadium. There was a good-sized crowd waiting for Robin. The car pulled up. He got out, turned the scene into a Beatles movie. He did a double take and blurted out, "Hey man, Robin Williams, give me your autograph." I saw Robin a few months later in Los Angeles. He was on location for the Fisher King. He done it. Nope, it's not even in here.
Oh, really?
Son of a... I apologize to our listeners. I must be misappropriating this to a different interview.
Well, you can make it up.
The interview that
Nobody knows that you're actually reading it now.
It was that he was in this crazy flight. He was in this plane in this crazy flight, and it was just like he was getting his ass kicked, and the reporter could not believe this guy. The reporter who was along with him, a flight, turbulence through a storm, up and down. They've already been going for 12 hours. They pull up to this thing. The reporter can't go on anymore. Mm-hmm. He's totally wiped out. And Robin has to walk out on stage and do a 2-hour show in front of this sold-out theater. And he just did it. And the reporter was like, how?
Yeah.
How? I can't even sit in the audience right now. And he's on stage kicking ass.
Right.
I thought it was in this book. That's so upsetting.
Well, that was the big, because when you first start out, you do make those long drives and you're doing like crappy gigs. But this one, when you show up and there's 850 people there, that was certainly the, okay, we can do this. We've done all this other horrible crap all day. We've sat in cars and airplanes. Doing comedy is the easy part.
Oh, it was in the book. It was in the beginning. It was in the introduction.
Oh.
Son of a hoo-ha. I was right. Oh, I would have been so upset if it was like from a newspaper article. How great are these pictures of Robin Williams with this baby?
He's really young.
Look at them with those babies.
Wow.
So funny. He's got this tiny little baby in his lap, and the baby's making all its gas faces and stuff, and Robin's just imitating him as they go along. I remember one rainy morning we woke up early in Blacksburg, Virginia, and took a dreary 1-hour van ride to the airport. This is him and Robin. After a half-hour wait for a delayed flight, we boarded a two-engine cigar tube with no standing headroom. With no standing headroom and no toilet for an hour and 30-minute flight to Cleveland. None of us could wait to get off and connect to our jet flight to Milwaukee. As soon as we landed, we were escorted by airline personnel across the tarmac towards a beautiful 727. We were in shock as we were led past the gangway and under the belly of the jet toward another toiletless, foodless, and drinkless propeller-driven cigar tube. Everyone gritted their teeth and sullenly boarded the commuter special for the 90-minute bladder rattler to Milwaukee. Later that afternoon, still gloomy, we drove from the airport in silence, feeling like a part of a funeral procession, which is probably why David Steinberg, Robin's manager, I didn't know Steinberg managed him, happened to mention that an elderly gentleman they both knew in the entertainment business had passed away the day before. Ah, death, Robin shot back instantly. Nature's way of saying, check, please. That was it. The ice was broken, the laughs started coming, and Robin went on to do 2 great sold-out shows that night. Over the next few years, I encountered Robin from time to time. As a result, I met more and more comedians. They were having plenty of laughs. When I thought about it later, it seemed to me the comedians were underappreciated and underrated as artists. It's the old conundrum. If it's funny, how can it be taken seriously? For whatever reason, comedy is perceived as lightweight, of somehow lacking intellectual throw weight when compared with some other arts. In doing a book of stand-up comedians, my idea was to single them out as a group of artists deserving of special attention and recognition. The way I see it, there is an extraordinary talent married to a high-risk and unforgiving job.
And that's when he was already doing movies and stuff too, right?
Yeah, he was big at this point. I'm not sure exactly what year it was. But I just love that, just going from horrible plane to horrible plane. You're hearing about death, and then he's going on and doing these 2 sold-out shows. And I always remember that, but this was before I was a comedian reading this, and I just was like, that does seem impressive. That does seem Herculean. Like, how would I be able to do that in if I was in that similar situation? Like, it seems crazy. This was 1991 it came out.
Yeah, I mean, he was a movie star for years by then.
And Little Tommy Papa was 2 years away from his first set. Didn't happen until 93. Great book, though.
Yeah, that's cool.
Beautiful Sam Kinison in here. But but that being said, you go and you have that day that we had, and you go in front of 25 people. It might be a little hard to gin it up. But we walked into a beautiful theater in San Luis Obispo with over 800 people. And there's that shared energy in stand-up. And when you have those people looking for a good time and ready to go, that wakes you up pretty quick.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you know, when I told you, too, from over the summer, when I was in Iraq and doing shows there, you know, when you're on a plane for 5 hours, that's 100 degrees, and you're just doing a comedy show, and you're with 40 guys that are going to a war zone, you can't complain. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like,
right.
So when you get off the plane, compared to everyone else, you had an easy day.
Yeah.
Even though it's probably the hardest day you've had to just go and do a show.
Yeah. I think about that even with like businessmen, like when I'm commuting back after like a weekend, and you're done with your 2 days of work, and all these other people are just starting their work, and they're all leaving their families, they're all going to do their whatever, and you know, everyone's got work, everyone's got stuff to deal with, and I'm always impressed with everybody that's doing whatever they can do, except, and I mean the entire planet and everyone I run into and see, except for the driver we had on Friday. That guy should be put out of his misery and the rest of the planet's.
And the thing that sucks,
if you read this Robin Williams thing, and he ran into that driver, it would be a different story. It would be like, he really was a great artist and was about to do amazing things, and then he ran into Randy, the driver, who ruined the night.
Well, I will say this, not to throw everyone under the bus, but we had at least 2 bad drivers that weekend. We don't have to mention where the other one was.
Where the other one was? My friend Kevin?
No. No, the drive from
there. That guy was an idiot too. But at least he was on time. But that guy, he was an old Florida dude who was sitting in an intersection, a busy intersection. He creeps in and then decides to take his phone out, use his GPS, and get the address off of a spiral notebook in his other hand.
Yeah, it doesn't say a lot for car services.
Oh, my God.
The whole point with Uber, you're like, oh, well, people find out that normal people aren't as good of drivers as these car service people. Yeah. But then,
oh my
0 for 2.
Whew, that was a disaster. I love your idea of dressing up as a ventriloquist and having my dummy be a murderer.
Right.
I'm going to try and make that happen for my Halloween costume.
I
could walk around all day, all night, and have this little obnoxious, inappropriate dummy talking to everybody. I love it, and I'm going to work hard at it. I have to find a dummy. I'm running out of time. I totally forgot since our last podcast when we talked about it, but I'm on it.
I had a couple pictures I was going to send you because they were awesome. There were 2 movies. I don't know why I can't find it now. But
Goosebumps?
No.
Magic?
One of them is Anthony Hopkins as a ventriloquist.
Wasn't that in Magic? That was Magic.
Oh, you know the movie?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was a really good one. That was a... Did Stephen King write that? I don't think so.
I don't know. I just Googled, like, murdering ventriloquist, and there was a lot of them. There was a lot of murdering ventriloquists. So,
Magic.
Yeah. And then there was, like, 2 black and white ones, but the dummies looked really super creepy.
There's a really good one in that Goosebumps movie, which was a pretty good kids' horror movie. It was a famous kids' book and stuff.
Oh, okay.
A young Anthony Hopkins in 1978.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great movie. I remember that. I don't know if it was hold up, but I remember at the time thinking it was great. 1978. Yeah, and this is a murdering dummy.
Here's the other one. This is called the ventriloquist dummy from Dead of the Night.
Ooh.
It's black and white, but that dummy looks super cool. Creepy. Oh, here's the Anthony Hopkins one.
Look at Hopkins. I mean, that was a young, disturbed-looking man.
And the dummy...
What a career that guy had.
The dummy has these big eyes and overalls on.
Amazing.
Fats...
Goldman's novel. It wasn't Stephen King.
Fats the dummy.
The Magic one with Anthony Hopkins. Steven Spielberg expressed interest in directing the film and considered casting Robert De Niro for Corky. Richard Attenborough, who just made A Bridge Too Far with Goldman and Levine, then agreed to direct. Wow, could have been his.
I mean, there hasn't
Laurence Olivier was originally offered the role of the agent, but was unable to do it. That's so funny how all that stuff always happens.
Oh, I was gonna say there isn't many flattering ventriloquist movies. It seems that everyone...
They're all creepy. Look at that book I have there. It's all... I have this great picture book that's just ventriloquist faces. It's a giant picture book, and it's just real close-up shots, and every one of them is disturbing. I gave a copy to my pal Rob Zombie. All right, before we leave, it is Halloween week, even though Paul's hanging on to September for some reason.
It's a week away.
So a lot of times people ask us if we have jokes or not because we're comedians, and we normally tell them that we don't have these kind of jokes because they're horrible jokes, and we don't want to carry them around in our head. But we feel like we have to prove this throughout this year with a segment we call Street Jokes. And because it's Halloween, the internet says that these are the best Halloween jokes. The best. This is as good as it gets, guys. It doesn't get any better than this. These are the best Halloween jokes.
Okay.
Son says to his father, "What are you going to be for Halloween, Dad?" "Drunk." "What's Mom going to be?" "Mad."
That sounds like a therapy session.
How do vampires get around on Halloween?
Vespa.
On blood vessels.
What?
Like a vessel is like a moving thing.
You.
How do you know your doctor is a vampire?
I don't know.
He draws your blood from your neck with a straw. Yo mama is so ugly. When she walks down the street in September, people say, wow, is it Halloween already? These aren't our jokes, people. These are jokes written by, I don't know. It's a shame to even think someone would have sat down with a pen and written these. What do mummies listen to on Halloween?
Music.
That would have been much better. Rap music. Get it? WRAP.
I forget what mummies sound like. What do they sound like? No, that's Frankenstein, the fire bat. I want you to dress up exactly like your dummy. That's what would be the best. If you look exactly like the ventriloquist dummy.
Dressed like the dummy?
Yeah, I want you to look exactly like it.
I don't know. We're running out of time. All right. This is a long one. I haven't read it. I'm just looking at the size of the paragraph.
I'm sure it'll be worth it.
And then we'll wrap up our big show. Make sure you go to Patreon and sign up and subscribe. Make sure Paul's been putting up some
we got some road videos, the big tour this week, going to Texas, and we can see Tom making bread in his kitchen. Yeah, what are you going to do this week? You're going to be gone for...
I'm baking bread right now.
3 days?
I've got
4 days?
I fed the starter last night. I'm going to get some bread. It'll be done tomorrow.
Any special bread for Halloween?
Ooh. To be determined. No. All right, this is a big one. Thank you all for listening. We're going to end with this great joke. We don't know it's great, but according to the internet, this is the best Halloween joke there is.
Tom Papa commits.
There was an old couple who hadn't celebrated Halloween in a long time, so they decided to dress up and go out. The old woman went in her bedroom, stripped naked, and tied a string between her legs with a lemon at the end of the string. What? When she walked out of the room, her husband yelled, "You can't go out like that." She said, "I can go out as whatever I want, and so can you." The man agreed and went into his room. Soon he came out naked with a string tied to his penis and a potato at the end of the string. The woman said, "You're going out as that?" "Yes," said the old man. "If you can go out as a sourpuss, I can go out as a dictator." What? Oh. Tater? Potato?
Yeah.
Dictator.
It's a long way to go for that one.
Wow. And sourpuss. Jeez. That is really... Well, it is Halloween season, and that is possibly the scariest joke we've ever read. It's the scariest thing we've ever said. Oh, that's so funny. You know what all right, so that's on this page, and it's an internet joke thing, but that joke I just read, the ad that's on the, they put ads in the middle of this stuff. Sex offender alert. Does a predator live near you? View your area now. All right, we're going to get this off of our site. We're going to erase this history. We are leaving that, and I'm sorry to end like that, but that's Halloween, guys, and that's why we don't keep jokes like that in our head.
Yeah, I don't know why you need to have it tied to anything.
I don't. Stop analyzing it. Forget you ever heard it. That's it, everybody. We'll talk to you next week on the Halloween's Eve.
Ooh.
Enjoy your life.